Teaching discipline is actually harder on the parent than it is on the child. We always hear children complain about discipline, strictness, chastisement, torment, punishment, because they suffer. But really the one who suffers more than the child is the parent. Because at the end of the day, the parent is the one who is mature, who is in charge. He is the one that loves. The child doesn't love. He doesn't know what love is. He's young and inexperienced. It is the parent who understands, who's been through it himself, that knows that sparing the rod will spoil the child. And yet the parent loves the child. The Lord says, I discipline the one whom I love. The parent gets no pleasure from afflicting the child whom he loves. It's much harder on the father than the child. The child might get the blow, physical pain, okay, but the parent, mental blow. Seeing the child suffer, causing pain. And yet he is willing to suffer, the parent, because he knows that in the end of the story, it is for the benefit of the child. So he is willing to suffer and cause suffering to the child so that it would go well with the child. Think about this. The real sacrifice here is not the son, it is the father. Think about this. The father is love. The very definition of it, his love is endless. His love is unexplainable. It is just love. He is. And seeing his son go through what he went through, seeing Israel go through what Israel went through, the pain that Yeshua suffered, that Israel suffered, the Jews suffered, is a speck compared to what the Lord, the King of Kings, the Great Spirit, the Creator, suffered. And yet, in his infinite wisdom, this is the path which he willingly chose, because he is selfless, meaning he's not about himself, but about the object of his love, Yeshua, Israel, the Jews. So he allows us to suffer, because once again, spoil the child, right? In Devarim, he says it again and again. Devarim chapter 8. I walked you through to see, to discipline you, to torment you. See what is within your heart, whether you will obey or not, to do you good in the latter days, to teach you humility, self-control, to trust in me, things that will do you good. The Lord is eternal. He's not so consumed with 5 minutes in the desert. 40 years is the same as 5 minutes, no difference compared to eternity. The only thing that matters in this life is your mind, your character, and your relationship with the Lord, which really your mind is your soul, and your character is who you are, the way you think, what is within your heart, your integrity. So, this is what the Lord values above all else. The rest of the stuff doesn't really matter. You just fluff, buffer, like they put in your vitamins. Just a filler. This world was made for the chastisement of his children, to teach us what is good, so that we might follow and obey live according to his ways. And knowing how difficult it is to choose what is right, the Lord in his infinite wisdom, like I said, designed this matrix of reality with all of its history from the first man to the last, to walk us through this life and experience all different aspects of blessings and curses, good and evil, suffering and joy, pain and pleasure, winter and summer, day and night, light and day, truth and lies, life and death. So that when all is said and done, there should be no question in your mind, first, that the Lord is good and that he loves you, and that his way is the only way. Not just because he says so, but because it is. And that's just the way it is. He knows what he's doing, and he is in control. And as long as you walk in his path, and you do what he says, and you live within the margin, which really is no margin. The margin, it's like a one thread. There is no margin. You just walk in the line. He said, do not lean to the left or to the right. You'll be fine. Nothing to worry about. See, fear of the Lord is not fearing he's just gonna hit you or kill you, like you fear sleeping in a homeless shelter. You fear the other people, they might stab you in the middle of the night. The Lord does not, no. Fear of the Lord is the reverence of him, to keep you in line, so that you honor him, glorify his name, humble yourself in his presence. Know that he is God alone. It is for your own good. You revere a lion. You know how powerful he is. You approach carefully. How much more the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the one who the one who created the universe, he designed life itself. Man, he suffers. He suffers more than anyone, and more than anyone can imagine. The things we put him through. The things he had to endure and watch with our sin, our choices, the evil that we've caused throughout the ages. You think he enjoys that? No. And yet, his joy from his love for us is greater than the pain. Therefore, he was willing to endure. And he set the example for the rest of us. Like it is said in the scriptures about Yeshua, he was willing to endure the cross for the glory that comes after. Dying to self, laying down your free will, not going your own way, but going God's way, doing what he says. Even though you could summon legions of angels to deliver you, you could call whatever you want, you don't. You turn the other cheek, you suffer, you endure like a good soldier on the battlefield. Even though you have the nuclear codes, you suffer because you do God's will. Sometimes his will is to use those codes, and sometimes it is not. But it is not for you to decide, it is for you to obey what he says. See, Yeshua is the way. He is the door. But you are the key. You are the key for your own life. In a way, you could say that every man is his own Messiah, because every man has the power to save himself. Yeshua is the way. You have to walk the way. You have to open the door. You have the key. It's in your hands. You have to decide. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run to it and are saved. That's the key. The righteous run to it. The Lord does not run to you. You run to Him. He is the way. You have to walk the way. Your choice. And keep in mind, when you walk the way, you're going to suffer because, like I said, torment and discipline. He disciplines the one He loves for your own good, so He can do you good in the latter days, which we have no idea. We're a speck of dust. What do we know? But that's the whole point of trust. He expects you to trust Him. Not blindly, but He gives you enough. And then He says He's forever the same. Does not change. If He's good today, He's going to be good forever. And He is. So that should be enough for you to trust Him already. So that even though you do not know, you still obey. And you still do what He says. You walk without understanding why, where, or how. You just do. It's not that complicated. Just know that the Lord is good and He loves you. And if you suffer, rejoice, because so did the prophets before you. But suffer for righteousness' sake, as much as you can, not because of your own sins. You could suffer because you forgot to eat right, or didn't brush your teeth, or all kind of crimes that you suffer for. That's not the point. The point is you do what is right and still suffer. No good deed goes unpunished. Suffer for righteousness' sake. That is the true glory of this life. Is that not why Yeshua died on the cross, laying down His life? Because He was righteous and they crucified Him? He spoke nothing but truth and they wanted Him dead? Yochanan the Baptist, same thing. So rejoice if they crucify you, persecute you, as long as you're doing what is just and right and following the way, which is the Lord, Yeshua, the Mashiach, the Anointed One. And remember, no matter how much you suffer, the Lord suffers more because He loves you. And He has to watch you suffer. And that causes Him pain, more than you could ever imagine. He could have just given you candy and candy and candy, blessing on blessing on blessing, and you would turn like a rotten, spoiled child, and then He would have to throw you in the furnace because you would be no good. So He loves you enough to condemn and judge you, let you face the consequences of your actions, and you should be grateful.